Good morning, garden friends. It is June 7th here in Southwest Michigan, and if you think that the garden season has passed you by and it's too late to start anything from seed or get anything in the ground, I'm here in this video to tell you you're wrong. Hi, my name is Landon Gilfillan with Pepper and Pine Garden Design, and in this video I want to share with you some things that you can actually be sowing inside or in the ground right now in June. In fact, through the entirety of June, there is so much that you can still grow. And of course, you can still buy plant starts at your local nursery and get them in the ground. But if you're wanting to save money, if you've got seed in your house that you need to use, let me share with you some of the things that I've been sowing this week and some other things you can consider sowing in your garden as well. While most of us are busy getting our garden planned in the depths of winter when we're cold and snuggled up in our houses, starting seeds in February and March and April and even May, that doesn't mean that you're too late to start your garden once the summer has hit or the warm weather has hit. There is still so much you can do. The reason that we're starting seeds in the early spring is to get a head start so that we can actually get a harvest, in the middle of summer, if not a little ahead of summer, instead of having to wait till the very end to harvest all these things. But there's still plenty of time, even in a short season like Southwest Michigan, to put seeds in the ground and be harvesting them by the end of summer and early fall. I actually have two blogs on my website right now: seed sowing calendar for May and seed sowing calendar for June. You can find that link in the description for a full extensive list of the things that you can be sowing in the ground right now, or even in your house to be bringing out in the next month or so. Things like squash, specifically summer squash, zucchinis, and crookneck squash. My first frost date is actually not till October 10th, so I have a lot of wiggle room for those plants that can tolerate that cooler weather leading up to the first frost date. All of that to say that in some places, maybe even in Michigan, you could plant a winter squash plant from seed now and have a harvest before your first frost. In fact, I'm going to post a video here of last year where I planted my sunflowers and my winter squash, my pumpkins, right here behind me, and then the chickens came and ate them all up, and I had to replant them later than I had anticipated, and I still had an awesome pumpkin and sunflower harvest. And I'll post those pictures right here so you can see clearly I had plenty of time, even though I started late, and I'm pretty sure I started them right around now in the beginning of June. Other things that you can plant are cucumbers. You can start them inside if you want, or you can plant them directly in the ground like I'm going to do today. I actually started my cucumbers weeks ago, and they've been in the ground for probably 2 weeks now. I'd have to look at, it's been since about May the 15th. But there are some varieties that for whatever reason, they just didn't transplant well, and I lost all but one. So I'm going to start some more of those seeds today, knowing that I have plenty of time for them to grow and will actually be like a succession planting when the others are fruiting, this one's going to be going and then it'll fruit afterwards. So I'll have fruit through the season by planting these a little bit late. Now, things like zucchini, those continue to grow and fruit throughout the season. So you don't necessarily need to succession plant zucchini and summer squash, but you can absolutely put the seeds in the ground right now and have a really robust harvest in the next 40 to 50 days, depending on the variety. Beans are another great thing you can put in the ground. In fact, I wouldn't even be planting beans in the ground till now here in Southwest Michigan when the temperatures are hanging around the 70s. It got down to 50 last night, which is right at that line where beans don't like to be in the ground. So you're absolutely not too late to put those in the ground. In fact, you could start them inside like I did this year and then transplant them out a week or two afterwards. Because they grow so fast, you don't even want them in your house really more than 2 or 3 weeks because they'll be growing so big and needing to start establishing their root system in the ground. So here behind me, I actually have some areas where I planted beans that I had started inside. And in this garden across from me over here, I actually planted a whole row of Blue Lake Bush beans that I started inside and that I directly planted in the ground this week to do a comparison of how they grow. So I will be keeping you updated on some of these experiments I'm doing this year to see if they grow better starting inside or grow better starting directly in the ground. So beans are a great thing that you can start right now in June. I have a whole row of carrots that I started in April that are coming up, and I did an interplanting with radishes, which I absolutely love doing it that way. And you can find a couple of videos here how I did that. And I did it again yesterday. So while the radishes may end up bolting depending on the weather, they grow so fast they actually might come to fruition before the weather really heats up in July, because they grow so quickly, 30 to 40 days for most radishes. And there's plenty of time for these carrots to develop. So I planted a whole row of carrots right here. That will be kind of a succession planting from these carrots that I did over here. Your greens, except for the ones that don't like the warm weather. So we're pretty much done with spinach and arugula and some of our mustards until the fall. Those have already bolted. I've already had lots of harvests from those. And I came in here yesterday and pulled up all my spinach and arugula to be able to plant these carrots and radishes. In the back where I've got my green stalk where it's shady, I actually still have cilantro growing because it's in the shade. It actually is doing better and not bolting as fast. So if you have a shadier, cooler spot, you can try starting some of those greens that usually bolt, like spinach and arugula and mustards. Or just make sure you purchase a variety that doesn't bolt quickly. It usually will say like slow to bolt or heat tolerant. So I have some lettuces that have done really well in the heat that I'm succession planting now to continue to have a lettuce harvest throughout the season. So lettuces are a great thing to plant, again, if they're slow to bolt or heat tolerant. You can start corn from seed right now. In fact, while I've started most of my corn indoors, there is some corn that I planted from seed out here, again, as an experiment to see how it does. So you could be putting corn in the ground right now. Now, again, you want to check days to maturity of the variety you're trying to grow and how long you have until your first frost date. Those are the two things you want to check so that you know you have enough time to grow whatever plant it is. So how many days do you have till your first frost date, and what are the days to maturity for the plant that you're trying to grow? There's also lots of flowers that you could be planting right now. Sunflowers, sunflowers like Pro Cuts, they mature in 50 to 60 days. That's 2 months that you could be growing sunflowers out here. Some sunflowers, like your Mammoth and Goliath ones, aren't ready till 120 days. So some of the ones I've planted won't be blooming till the end of the season, but I've planted a lot of them that will be growing throughout the season. And I can plant those up to 60 days before my last frost date, which is what I plan on doing in this space right here. Every week or so, I'm going to be coming out here and putting another row of sunflowers in so that I have consistent blooms throughout the season. Zinnias are another one you could plant. Cosmos, marigolds, nasturtiums. Those are all things that you can start from seed right now, especially in the flower category. Rutabaga is something that you can start. Beets, whether for the root or the leaves, you can start. You can start kale, Swiss chard. I have some that are in the garden that I'm harvesting from now, and some that I started from seed a week ago to be able to put in the garden now, so that I have plenty to last me throughout the season. And actually looking forward for your late summer and fall harvest, you can actually be starting broccoli, cauliflower, and cabbage that will be harvested towards the end of your season or into the fall, or even overwintering, again, depending on the variety. I actually just wrote an entire blog post on how to grow broccoli, which I've linked below. And if you read it, you'll see that such a large spectrum with broccoli and when it's ready to be harvested. So some can be ready in 50 days, some are ready in 80 days, some are ready in 90, and some are 180, like your purple sprouting broccoli that you'd want to start now, but that you actually wouldn't even harvest till early spring. So go check out that blog post below if you want to do broccoli and learn how you can start succession planting your broccoli now so that you have multiple heads coming to fruition throughout the season into the fall and even overwintering. And onions, if you have short season onions, you can be putting onions in the ground now. Now, depending on how long it takes for them to mature, you might not get a huge bulb by the end of the season, but you might. There are some short season onions that you can look up. They usually are defined by long day onions or short day onions. So here in Michigan, we have long days, but a short season. So there are specific onion varieties that you can grow that will be mature in your short season, but they love the long days of the summer. And also any kind of onion you plant, you can harvest them for their greens or like a spring onion or a scallion. So you can be putting onions in the ground right now to harvest for those purposes. And actually, you might not believe this, but it's not too late to start potatoes. Find a short season potato that you can put in the ground now and harvest before the winter comes. So I hope this has been encouraging to know that there's still lots you can do in the garden, even in June. So if you have that mentality that, oh, well, I've missed my chance, you absolutely haven't. Go get some seeds or go buy some starts from the local nursery and get your garden growing. Once again, my name is Landon Gilfillan with Pepper and Pine Garden Design, growing gardeners and their gardens, and I'll see you in the next video.